us. We have Craig Soubliere. How's it going, brother?
Good. How you doing, man? Thanks for having
Do,
me on the show.
doing well, doing well, doing well. Thank you for coming on. I know we just talked probably like 4 or 5 days ago. It made this happen fairly quick. Um, first I want to start everything. I start every episode with kind of the same thing. We'll talk about family first because that's first and foremost in all of our lives. Tell us a little bit about your family, Craig.
Well, my family, I have two daughters, 15 and 16, and my son, he's 11.
Yeah.
So, yeah, man, they're my life, right? So, been busy with they're all into jujitsu,
Oh,
and
very nice.
two of my kids are competing. So, and it's really cool because there's an event that FAL just announced, and it's the same day as my kids' ADCC World Trials, and it's in the same venue because it's like an expo. So we're going to be able to compete on the same day. It's going to be incredible. So I'm super stoked for that. So, but I've been busy training with them and trying to get them ready for combat sports.
Is
So
that gi or no gi?
both
No.
gi, yeah. So, but really, gi is or the no gi is really where the money will be in the future of the sport, and also the gi is more like traditional. So, and we go to like a traditional Gracie Academy, so they're more into the gi type of stuff. But he
Yeah.
likes both. I mean, my daughter likes gi better, so but I feel like it's fundamental. Everybody should learn how to either wrestle or jujitsu or some type of martial arts,
Agreed.
self defense.
It
So
teaches you discipline. I did right after high school. I wrestled in high school a little bit, and then right after high school, um, I played football in college, and then after that, I needed something to stay active. And I didn't find arm wrestling until I was 36, but I did a little Brazilian jiu-jitsu and kickboxing, and I was no gi. Gi, I felt like you got used to a disadvantage because you can actually use it against you a lot with the gi.
yeah,
Wasn't really my thing.
yeah, and I don't feel like it gives you a real life, realistic kind of approach to when you if you had to use it on the street. If
Yeah.
a guy had his shirt off, it's kind of so it's good to have that fundamental. So, and I take my kids periodically up to wrestling. A friend of mine's a coach. He's a head coach at a high school here locally. So I feel like wrestling's super fundamental. Everybody should really learn how to wrestle a little bit, just even one season, just to understand the discipline and the work ethic these guys
Yeah.
have. I train
Oh,
some wrestlers,
oh yeah.
sports,
It's
and
a
it's
it's a whole
crazy.
level of discipline. It's a different
Yeah,
level of discipline,
yeah.
and to
So it
push
makes
yourself
arm
beyond the
wrestling.
limit.
Yeah, yeah. It makes arm wrestling training easy, right? So.
You learned how to. I learned how to cut weight at a much earlier age.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're right. Yeah, yeah.
So like I said, you and I we just kind of met here a week ago, maybe tops.
Hmm.
I was actually cutting weight for this past weekend's event, and I was watching a lot of your podcast, taking my hot bath and in the sauna. So
Nice, nice. That's
you
fun.
know, I've been following you on Facebook for a while. I've been watching your stuff, and just seemed like a very unique, background, personality, similar to myself. Have very colorful background, very transparent. I like something you said in I believe it was your addicted podcast. Said if you're very transparent, you go ahead and get out there. People can't use it against you, and I
Yes,
think that's
yes.
very true. And yeah, the way I see it is, don't hold nothing back because people can't learn from you if you're holding things back. So,
Yes. And
um,
I feel too like your experiences when they're not the greatest positive experiences like, addiction or, doing things that aren't in line with who you really should be in life. If you don't share that, then I feel like you're kind of like wasting that
you're a
time,
floater.
you know what I mean?
You're a
Yeah.
floater. You're just
Yeah, you're
floating.
a floater. Yeah, that's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
My football coach used to call them turds. They're really doing nothing in life.
Yeah.
Just a
Yeah, yeah.
turd.
Yeah, that's even better. Football coaches, they don't have any filter.
Before we get into all that, because I know we will, let's talk about arm wrestling just a little bit. What's the recently I was trying to think. You and Austin Collins had about. I talked to Austin regular. You had a nice little battle with Austin here about a month
Yeah,
ago, something like that.
yeah, yeah. It was
Um,
at a tournament locally here. I had got a little sloppy and had to cut like 18 pounds in a couple days to make the weight class. But no excuses. Yeah, Austin, he's a stud. He's been bugging me for like about 7, 8 months for a match. He's hungry. He
oh
wants to
yeah,
get
very, yeah.
ranked. So yeah, I like him. He's a good kid. I got to hang out with him at the tournament. Got to talk to him. We kind of like had like a little kind of mixed messages. But when you don't know, when you're texting and on like Messenger and stuff, you don't know people's sense of humor. You don't know
Yeah.
how they're act to joke around. So anyway, it was good to get to meet him in person, and we become friends and we talk quite regularly. And so yeah, I'm giving him an opportunity on the 15th to get ranked because I'm still ranked 18th in
Yeah.
North America.
Yeah. He
So
told me about that. Yeah, he was
yeah,
telling
so
me
I'm
about
super excited to pull him. And yeah, it's going to be a fun match. So I'm really training hard. I have a few events that I like to do before that, and we can talk about that because you said you like
Yeah.
to talk about the events. So
Yeah.
yeah, May 18th, Brandon Morse. He's a promoter here in Florida. He has Flow Arms. Basically, it's Florida Arm Wrestling Combat. It's a new league that he kind of adopted. After like the FAL and stuff, he started that, and then he kind of wanted to do something a little different. So he has a big event called the Duel 2.0, and that's in a couple weeks in DeLand. It's not far from here, like 30 minutes from me. So I'm going to do that event, kind of get the rust off a little bit, just with the ready goes and stuff. And
Now, what city are you in? You said from here. What city are you
I
in?
live in Daytona
Oh,
Beach.
okay. All right.
Yeah, so DeLand is a little further south. It's not that far. It's the next kind of big town. And then we got a big practice coming up, FAL. So if you guys are in town, anybody in town in Florida, it's going to be huge. All the FAL superstars will be there. Chance, Brad Grundy, Dylan Williamson is putting it on. It's going to be in Claremont. He's a freak of nature. He came from a bodybuilding background, but dude, he showed up at practice one day and his pronation was just unbelievable. And
Now, you mentioned to him about he had East versus West last weekend. How did he
yeah,
do
I'm
in
not
the
sure.
engineer?
I don't know how he did. I didn't really see him pull, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So I don't know if he even pulled.
I know you mentioned his name when you was in one of your
Yeah,
information.
he was. I know he was like had some maybe injuries, but I saw him pulling Paul Lynn in the after pull. I could have missed it though because the stream was kind of going in and out, and I only really saw the finals without the cutting out of the internet because I
Yeah.
know they were having problems. But that guy, he's going to be he's been in the sport for a year and he's already making waves. So, a couple more years and he's going to be one of the top, supers or 242s if he wants to cut. I mean,
Yeah.
he's kind of versatile with that, with having that background. And then I'm not going to be able to make this tournament because, like I said earlier, we're talking about Austin. I have that match on the 15th, and I need to have some recovery. And the biggest event of the year in Florida, Chuck Westbury, he puts on this event. It's called the Mayhem in Middleburg, and this is number 7. And it's a round robin, and it's so ridiculous. It's so
What
crazy.
weight?
Like
What weight?
it's all round robin, the
Oh, it's
whole
open.
tournament.
It's an
Yeah.
open round robin.
Yeah, so the pro class. So and they have like usually 20 guys deep in each class. So it's a long tournament, but it's a phenomenal one. And it's one of those ones that you go to get like some endurance kind of,
Yeah.
I was able to win it a couple years back. It was phenomenal, but it's grown so much since then. And I'm not diminishing that victory, but now there's like almost double the competitors. I think they had like over 400 last year. It's crazy. Chuck's like
Yeah.
a legend here in Florida, so everybody likes to come out and support his tournaments. And
That's
we
awesome.
have a really good vibe here in Florida for like tournaments and stuff.
Yeah.
People are starting to like really see the different leagues now and more professional. It's starting to get, because Florida had like this kind of reputation for having like kind of like shady, almost like, remember Kimbo Slice
Oh yeah.
backyard brawls. Like,
Oh yeah.
yeah, we'd have these events in gyms and the referees would be questionable, and so, but it was always fun. And
Yeah.
I'm the type of guy, like, people complain about the refs screwing them or whatever. I'm just like, you got to be stronger than even that. You know what I mean? So I
With
just
all
don't like.
sports, don't you try not to leave it in the hands of the ref, right?
Yeah.
You don't want to
So
get called on the foul. Don't be put yourself close there. You know what I mean? And uh,
exactly. So
but well, that's pretty. I know you was talking about. So I like unique tournaments, like you was talking about that round robin. I like unique. I'm a big fan of super matches. I'm not a big fan of traditional style tournaments. I like the round robin. So I've hosted two round robin tournaments at 242 and 198, which was a road to the pros. It was the high level amateurs from, oh gosh, West Virginia down to about Georgia, who competed in those. And then I've got one coming up on May 18th, which is 176. This guy's all across the East Coast coming in. Greg Gray from Texas is coming in. Lance Hahn down in Florida is coming up. Guys in PA coming down. It's a really cool, but this is not amateurs, obviously, with Greg in it. This is a legit stud. Dalton Duncan's going to be in it as well. So
nice.
it's two tiers. A and B, I tiered them off. Then they'll come into a playoff. The top three from each pool will come into a playoff.
Oh, that's incredible. Yeah, I'm getting I'm getting into doing tournaments again because I was just doing super matches and traveling a little bit and preparing for like just one person, which I find intriguing. I like that a lot better. But I kind of want to get some tournaments in just to get a little more different variation of different pullers and just getting into different situations. And speaking of unique tournaments, we're going to have another one July 6th. It's going to be in Orlando. It's going to be part of FAL. It's the United States Fit Games
I
arm
saw
wrestling
that.
event.
I saw that
Yeah,
today. I saw the flyer for that today, actually.
yeah, so it's really funny because I was saying earlier, my kid is doing ADCCs the same day, so they're having it right in that same facility, usually right next door to the arm wrestling. So that's going to be fun. But that's a really good. I like the expo feeling because I feel more like an athlete, and you're not hanging out at a bar, and it's like you're inside. It's AC. Like sometimes these tournaments in Florida, it's the humidity. Usually right around this year, like this time of year, we wrap up the outdoor tournaments because it's
Yeah.
not fun to be out there, especially if they're long.
And that exposed to all the exposure it's getting, the sports getting to different people, different athletes. You know what I mean? And you may get parents of these athletes that's like, hey, well, that looks cool as hell. You know what I mean? Let's check out some arm wrestling. And I think that's a great place. A Fit Expo like that. They're actually doing the same thing in Carolina, North Carolina, in Charlotte Concord, June 15th. And it's at a sports games, state games. It's at state games.
Okay.
Uh, so it's kind of cool. I think it's an awesome place to get the sport into.
Yeah, for sure. That's how Chance got started. He came to an expo. It was the Europa back in the day. His dad was competing, and then he just decided that he would try it out. And then, look at how successful he's been in the sport. So, yeah, anything that can get eyes on the sport, man, I'm all for it. I'm all for anything growing in the sport. And I like
Yeah,
this. I like what's going on with everybody. With all the different leagues, people pushing different tournaments, like guys like you that are get in the sport, you put on events and stuff. I mean, that's amazing.
yeah. It's fun. It's really went fast for me. I've only been pulling. It was 2 years. My first tournament was 2 years ago, 2 days ago, and it came up in my memory on Facebook. I was like, wow, I can't believe it. This has went this fast. Now I'm running a podcast. I've got 6 events in 2024. But I always say, oh, it's just a hobby. It's really not, obviously. I mean, I'm not. It's a passion I'm not making a dime off of. Don't get me wrong, but I mean, it's
Yeah.
at this point, when it's taking up this much of your time, it's more of a hobby. It's not quite a lifestyle, but it is a contributing factor to your life.
Yeah,
And
and it's a positive factor too because it gives you something to train for, and it's funny because I've had this roller coaster relationship with arm wrestling. I've like in my head, I've like, I've gone through these little, nicks and valleys just because of injuries and stuff and trying to like, get back on track, and it just seems like a roller coaster. But like when you're training and you're focused on something, it gives you like an outlet to kind of help you. Like I use training to kind of keep my mental clarity going,
oh
and just
hell
have
yeah,
And
Right.
I feel like that's really important for guys, especially as we get older. Competing at something is such a blessing, and it doesn't, like you said, we're not making money off of it.
Yeah.
Some guys are able to make money, the elite guys, the 2%, but for us, it's all about, even though you said like it is kind of a hobby, and some people don't even like hearing that hobby because they feel like it's not being taken seriously, but and I get that too. Like I get that
Yeah.
perspective, but I really enjoy the journey, I guess is what I'm trying to say, to
Yeah.
the events, and then the mental fortitude if you lose, how you get on back on track. And yeah, man, it's a really, really great mental challenge. And I really like that about the sport. And
Yeah.
right now I'm in this, high of really putting in the work and training, and like a new fire's been lit. So and I feel like that's because these young kids are kind of nipping at my heels, and
Yeah.
it's keeping me like motivated to kind of
Oh,
go,
hell yeah.
I'm not the gatekeeper yet.
Yeah. So I just, like I said, I started in March of April of oh God, it was 2022, and the January before that, the doctors had told me, told me I'd had a stroke, and when that resurfaced, and they said, well, they diagnosed me with type 2 diabetes. They hit me with high cholesterol. I went from 0 meds to 9 meds overnight, and I was 275 pounds. 5'9", 275 ain't a good look, Craig.
I know,
That's
I
not
know,
a
I
good look.
know.
And I got down. I remember my first tournament in March. I pulled heavyweight at like in the 240s, and then super heavyweight in the 240s. The weight class was like 228 plus or something like that. And now I've gotten down and pulled 198, and now we do an IFA in North Carolina now, IFA weight class. So I'm at 209. So it's giving me motivation to be healthier for my family, longevity of life. I'm 38 years old. Now it's more critical than ever to start so I can live into my 70s and hopefully my 80s as well.
Yep,
So
yep.
having the
No,
background I have, I've already put my heart through hell for various things. So it's like
I
I
know
can't
all about it, dude.
I can't make up for that. All I can do is try not to damage it too bad anymore moving forward.
Yeah, I just went through that whole thing with my blood work and stuff, and I kind of like, I didn't do my blood work for about a year, and my supplementation now is just TRT. But when I was younger, I did a lot of stuff because I wanted to be a professional bodybuilder, and plus when you're a kid, dude, like like you will do whatever it takes if you really are like hungry, like I never thought of like, being 40. You know what I mean? Like when I was like 20 and training, if when I saw a 40-year-old, I always think those guys were like has-beens, like,
Yeah.
and now that I'm 52, I realize, man, I like to live and to be like 90 if I'm healthy, like, you know what I mean? So now it's all about longevity. And I try to preach that to youngsters now because you don't need to do, gear at a young
Oh
age.
my gosh.
You don't need to do like the pre-workout stuff and the energy drinks and all that craziness at such a young age. And
Your body's
you,
still growing. Let it
yeah,
stop. Let your and I think these youngsters. I'm not obviously I'm not gonna throw no names out there, but it was two guys up and coming in the sport, low 20s. I was like, your body's still growing. I said, I guarantee, because they were asking some questions. I said, I made the mistake, started on gear when I was 17 years old. Didn't have a clue what I was doing. Next thing you know, I've got gyno at 17. What the hell? You know what I mean? And now off my natural test is like 140, 130 at 36, 37, 38 years old. That's awful,
mhm,
and
mhm.
I was like, and that's all because of mistakes I made when I was young. So I tell these guys, I'm not saying you may never need to get on TRT, but right now, stay away from it. And I'm not go get your blood work checked. Anybody, if you're listening, please, I highly recommend getting your blood work done at least annually, just to check everything out. I'm not even just talking about testosterone. I'm talking about cholesterol. I'm talking your triglyceride. I'm talking everything. A1C. Keep down that sugar.
Yeah, yeah, everything. And I recommend, having discipline, man. Set up a program. Like this is how it works. You have to be on point with your sleeping. Your nutrition has to be on point. You have to make sure you're training, the techniques, you're doing everything possible before you even think about supplementation, and
Yeah.
make sure you're doing that for a long period of time where you're, and then when you get to a plateau, you're adjusting stuff. So there's all kinds of things. Like for me, I was like you, I was 16, 17, and the community that I lived in, that's what we did. We trained. There was a horse track in town. I mean, we were getting veterinarian supplements and, all jacked up when we're like 16, 17 years old, and I wish I wouldn't have did that, because now later on, my test levels for years were at 3 grand, like for years. And now I finally have them down to 670, I think it is.
At
I just got my
52,
blood back.
hell yeah,
Yeah, so I
52.
mean, and that's just 100 milligrams of TRT a week. So
That's maintaining, keeping a damn healthy life at 52 with a, you just sub 700 test. That's great.
so I'm
That's not
very
abuse. No way in
no,
hell
but
is
I'm
that. That's not,
grateful. I'm grateful that I'm at this point now and I can do that, because a lot of guys, they've had, like, I've seen so many guys die, dude. Like, it's crazy. Like, they just take it to the next level. And even in arm wrestling, it's really scary. These people, competing at the high level, really pushing their blood pressure and, being heavier and being
yeah,
on gear. I mean, I'm surprised there is not more health issues with that at the high level with some of the heavier guys, because it's
yeah.
scary when you see some of these guys almost purple when they're up there arm wrestling, and that's a lot of explosion on the heart, and it's dangerous. And I'm at a different point in my life now, you know what I mean? Like, I know I'm not going to be an elite guy. I can compete, and I like to be competitive. I'm realistic, but thing about it is, it's all about my kids now. I don't
Yeah.
want to do something stupid and not be around to enjoy
You're about to
life
get
in general and be
something.
healthy. And I don't know about you, but like doing mobility training and just like stretching and just those types of like prep. And you're 38, so you're still young, but as you get older, it's good to, because I never stretched and I never did any kind of decompression stuff. So
That's
that's
my
so
biggest flaw.
important.
We talked
Yeah.
about it at practice tonight. We was talking about one of our 253s. He's like, I can't even extend my right arm, man. Never can. I was like, because we don't stretch for shit. Look what we do. We do about 3 minutes of band work before we pull every day, and we don't stretch after, which is probably more critical than stretching before. Is stretching after.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I'm not a big opponent of stretching before as much, just like lightly in between sets or whatever. But yeah, for sure, you should focus on mobility. And I've noticed, because I didn't train legs as much, because I try to dedicate every possible amount of energy just for arm wrestling training. So I don't really need, leg training, but I've noticed neglecting that. Now my hips are weaker, my glutes don't fire the same. So now I have to do, back to leg training, and just to do like basic body weight squats and stuff without
Yeah.
having pain and stuff in your knees and stuff. So when you neglect the most important, I feel like legs are really important, because they're carrying you around all day, and I'm on my feet all day. So if you're in pain, your lower back or your feet or ankles, I mean, all those stuff, think about having strong ankles when you're like
Yeah.
younger, so you take all that stuff for granted. So later on in life, it's really important to focus on those things so that you don't get injured, and you can actually, have a better quality of life.
I highly recommend something I just started doing in the last year is going to a chiropractor regularly. And
Yes.
highly recommend to y'all, especially in our sport. Well, all athletes. I'm not just going to say our sport alone. I highly recommend going to a chiropractor. If you've done any kind of major heavy lifting in your life, as far as weights, the compression aspect of it's already done a toll on your body. So get checked out. And I'm a big fan of massages, not in the sense of like a relaxation massage, but you get one in there where they're going to do a number on you. They're going to work them kinks out, and you leave hurting. The next day, you're in pain from that massage. That's a good massage. And
Yeah.
when that's so, I've been really big on promoting my local chiropractor to folks at work and people I pull with. It's like I highly recommend doing that because they care about you. And it's one of those things you can see a difference in, and it's in your control to start doing. Whereas a lot of times you rely on a medicine to do something for you. A chiropractor's not doing that for you. They're going to teach you new behaviors to do it yourself. Like
Yeah.
I'm sitting upright right now because I hunch really bad. Being a bigger boy, bigger shoulders, I
Mhm.
naturally hunch, and trying to sit upright more to get that hunch out of my spine.
Yeah, no, that's really important. That's why I'm glad I don't have a sit down job. Even doing these podcasts for a little bit, I'm like, I get up and I'm like, oh man, I'm so glad I don't have to sit for hours. Because at our age, at my age, sitting is the worst thing you can do, you know. So,
Yeah.
and like you said, you have bad posture, you're leaning forward or whatever. So it's really
Yeah.
important to kind of focus on those things. So for me, over the last year or so, I feel like doing this, I'm feeling the best I felt in a long time, and I'm excited to compete again this year. And yeah, it feels great when you're not dealing with nagging injuries all the time. So
I've been very blessed in 2 years where I think I pull somewhat safe. I'm not going to say smart, but I pull safe. Where I try to stay out of presses and things like that to where they just where it hurts. People, something I always live by. You work through discomfort, but stop at pain. And I need more people to really think about that. If you're truly hurting, you need to stop. And too many times I see an injury of people not stopping when they're hurting. So we touched base a little bit on diet, and I've heard you mention this before. How important the food you put in. You mentioned this before. Is there a particular diet you kind of live by? And I use my body as an experiment. So I've tried all these different fad diets
yeah,
just to speak on them. So I've done
yeah.
I've done intermittent fasting, I've done all different types of things just so I can speak on it. What works for me. What kind of I would say what kind of diet do you live by?
Really, it's all about like whole, healthy, clean foods. Like I worked with Michael Dolce a few years back, and if you're not familiar with Michael, Mike Dolce, he used to train Ronda Rousey and a bunch of UFC fighters back in the day when the Ultimate Fighter show was just
Yeah,
getting popular. He had all the top fighters, and he would have these guys cut weight and they'd feel amazing because he just knew what he was doing. And so many people were just cutting weight wrong, wearing trash bags, dehydrate, not learning how to sweat, just
yeah,
so many things. And working with him, it just taught me that the most important thing is to have balance. So like carnivore or vegan or whatever tribal food group you want to belong to, the bottom line is you really need to have a balance of everything. And once you get to know your body too, you'll know what foods work the best for you. Like, so later on in life for me, like right now, I work better with like simple carbs that I can burn off quick, like fruits.
yeah,
And I don't like rice and pasta and oatmeal, all that stuff I can't eat now. It makes me want to go to sleep, makes me bloated. So my digestive system's a little different now. And to be honest with you, I do a lot of intermittent fasting because I feel like it helps my performance
yeah,
and my cognitive function. So I try to do I try not to eat later at night, and I try to not eat breakfast. I usually have my first meal somewhere around 2 o'clock, some days earlier. It all depends how I'm feeling.
yeah,
And then it depends where my training is. So, like to build muscle, and to get stronger, it's hard to stay on something like that long. I feel like you need to get food in you to be strong, and you need to, um, you know, have energy. Sometimes you might not have as much energy. So for me though, less food, I work better. So
yeah,
I break my fast. I usually stick to protein and fruits, and try to stay away from garbage food. I have a bad relationship with food, so it's a yo-yo over the years because of bodybuilding. Kind of gave me an eating disorder because in bodybuilding you're like get in shape, and then next thing you know you're fat. Like it's just instant. It's so up and down, and it's really hard mentally on your head because it's not a healthy lifestyle.
yeah,
So later on, I know that eating a ton of protein isn't good on my kidneys,
yeah,
but like I'm getting my blood work done just to make sure, and everything's fine. So I know that 250 grams of protein for me seems to work great. So when I'm trying to get strong and build muscle, that's my goal is to get that over 4 or 5 meals. And then but most of the week I'm kind of just doing an intermittent fast, and I might only get 2 meals in, so I'm not going to hit my 200 grams of protein usually unless I drink shakes and stuff.
yeah.
So And I find like I'll do a long prolonged fast and it helps with my joints and so I get rid of inflammation. But 4 weeks before a tournament, I'm not usually doing that as much. I'm really focused on getting like at least 4 good meals in and training and my sleep's on point and stuff like that. And I just try to keep the inflammation down by not having ultra processed foods are really the killer.
So I tried intermittent fasting when I was a little heavier for weight loss purposes, and it worked phenomenally. Uh, Job changed, and my schedule changed. So the earlier I'm up now, the harder it is to really stick to an intermittent fast because I'm up at 5 o'clock now. Hell, I'm starving by 7. It's really difficult. I just came off of carnivore. I've been trying carnivore for about 90 days. When I say carnivore, I'm going to say modified, probably not strict as I should have been. Probably 90% carnivore, and I didn't see the I'm the exception, not the rule. I did not see the benefits that I know other people have seen. Leaning out, losing weight. I got strong as hell. I put on a ton of muscle, don't get me wrong, but I didn't lean out the way I was expecting to on carnivore. And so that was, like I said, I do those things for that very reason where I can tell people I'm not what you're going to see because I have all these other health issues going on. But for someone with the type 2 diabetes and high cholesterol and high blood pressure, this and that, carnivore may not be for you. You may because your insulin reacts different. And so I've tried that, and what I really want to try next is I'd love to try veganism for about 90 days. That will be the ultimate test. I don't think I'd be able to stay committed personally. It'll be extremely hard to stay committed to that, me personally.
Yeah, I'm just not into vegetables as much. I mean, I'm not a veggie guy. And people love to argue about, vegan being so great or whatever, and that's a personal preference.
Yeah,
But
sure.
if it was so great, everybody would be doing it. You know what I mean? Like, you see one or two people that are doing it that excel in sports, and then the rest of the 99% are doing like, but that's and people have their reasons, their moral reasons, which I can argue. I've had
Yeah,
many discussions with people over, you're just basing your morals on what animals are being killed. You know what I mean? Like you decide what you think is right to kill and not to kill. So, and I feel like people just want to be part of a tribe. Like they always want to be part of a tribe. Like it's like, oh, I'm the carnivore, I'm the CrossFit guy, or I'm the,
yeah,
you know what I mean? Like it's like everybody wants to be part of the group, and people need to be in an individual, and they
yeah,
need to find out what works for them, and not worry about what Joe Rogan or
yeah,
some other guy that's selling some kind of propaganda story to you is doing, because
I,
you got to really figure it out for yourself, and like you do the data, you do your diet,
yeah,
and then you get data from it,
yeah,
and then you can evaluate that for yourself, and then when someone asks you, you go, hey man, because I have these issues, this didn't work for me, and
yeah.
people can take it with a grain of salt, because we're all different, so
I quote Jay Z all the time. I say, "What you eat don't make me shit," and that comes with diets. That comes with like your preferences in life as well. I'm not going to knock your preference. That's all about you. But
yeah.
I'll tell you what works and what doesn't work for me, and what you do with that, that's on you. And that's why I do it. I do things like that quarterly because I do my blood work quarterly still by choice. And so it's like I'll do my blood work and then I'll try something crazy, and I'll do my blood work again, see what the results are, then go try something different just to see. I mean,
Yes.
nothing's dangerous. I'm not doing anything dangerous. It's just
No.
uh, it's
No,
fun.
and you're doing your blood work. Most people never do their blood work.
Yeah,
Like I spent years avoiding my blood work because I was scared to like know something. But now it's like I get it done every quarter. I'm on point with everything. And as I get older, of course, I got to go to different doctors just to make sure that I do preventative measures for like my health. And I feel like not only that's a peace of mind, but also that it helps me stay on track with everything so that I'm being healthy. So, because you
yeah,
know how it is if maybe do a carnivore diet and your sugar something gets off or your cholesterol, whatever it is, you know what I mean? And liver functions, whatever gets elevated. And then you can kind of say, oh, you know what? this is what I need to change. So I feel like that helps to make adjustments.
Yeah.
And then I think really too, people would see where their test levels are, and then they'd realize that they don't need to, like, you know what I mean? Like, because everything's bro science and no one's really paying attention.
Yeah.
You see these guys showing up with yellow eyes and friggin' red faces and stuff, and you're like,
We was talking about somebody today, and the whole. I know a guy. A guy told me. I talked to a guy, and please tell me what your body. How do you know your
and
body?
my guy, he hooks everybody else. All those guys, Mr. Olympia, like, yeah, that's that guy. So he
Yeah.
has that, and he's really honest. He's just, and I heard it all, man. I've been in this game for 41 years, like training wise, in the fitness industry. I've seen all kinds of gimmicks, people trying to sell you like all kinds of nonsense, patches to put on your shoulders, like all kinds of nonsense. There's no secret. It's all snake oil. That stuff is just nonsense. You got to look at what we were doing in the beginning of where we were at, and and evolution or whatever, just where we were at and how we were eating and being active. And we don't need to worry about taking all these different supplements. The supplement industry is $1 billion scam for the most part,
Yeah.
and all the chemicals that are in all this garbage anyway. It's like
Fillers, fillers that are
you
doing
don't
no.
need that. I mean, you look at a normal protein powder, and there's 20 or 30 different. You can't even pronounce it. If your 6-year-old can't pronounce it, it's probably not good for you to have.
Yeah.
So like when I started looking at stuff like that, I started realizing, like, I need to cut these out because I don't know what they're doing in my body. Sometimes I would have headaches, and I'd have to cut out certain sweeteners or certain chemicals that are in the supplements. I mean, especially the protein in the pre-workouts. There's a company that I use now called Transparent Labs, and they have 4 ingredients, and it's grass-fed whey. It's
Yeah.
like, it's 4 ingredients. I mean, you can't even get anything on the market that's like that. So, and when you take those high quality proteins, you don't need as much. You know what I mean? You don't need as much because your body's utilizing pretty well mostly all of it, besides the waste that it would do. But your body's getting more benefit out of the higher quality proteins.
I
And
I
you
remember
know
being the early 2000s and just thinking GNC was the best place ever.
oh, me too.
And I'm taking Cell Tech and Nitrotech and all this stuff. I'm like, look how big I'm getting.
Dude,
You could have punctured me in water would have
Cell Tech.
flowed
What
out.
about Cell Tech, dude? That was incredible. Cell Tech gained 20 pounds. All those like Lee Priest videos of him with a bucket of chicken, the
Yeah,
fried chicken bucket, fat, because he used to get so fat in the off season, and then he
yeah.
would do Cell Tech and what was the hydroxy cut? Yeah,
Oh yeah,
that's
oh yeah.
yeah, dude.
Universal Lab
Nonsense. I knew guys that were sponsored by them, and they would never even take that supplement. Like
hydro.
there was a
Hydraulic.
guy named Greg Kovacs, and I got to talk to him one time. He's like a 400-pound bodybuilder. This guy was like, he ended up dying, but I talked to him one time at an event I competed at, and he was telling me that stuff was all garbage. Like, no one would take that stuff. And that's what it's like with most products
Yeah,
usually anyway. I mean, I feel like people just try to scam like people that are very easily influenced. You
yeah.
know what I mean? Like if you're training as long as like we've been training, or you've played sports and stuff, there's no real secret. It's hard work, discipline. And if you're doing that stuff 100%, then maybe worry about, trying a supplement. But to be honest with you, I feel like, 95% of it's just crap anyway.
So,
So
I'm trying to. Well, one of them I've bought in on for sure, and it's a collagen protein frog fuel. Now that
that's, yeah,
I like
well,
frog,
collagen is good for you. So
I
yeah, I mean,
like it a lot.
and
But
don't get me wrong, there's amino acids and there's
yeah,
all kinds of good products, but I'm talking about take the muscle 7,000 and you're going to get jacked, or the fillers that are in some of the weight gainers, and the
carb,
quality of the whey protein. Like
all the
there's
carb
great,
blockers out there
yeah,
now.
yeah, like all that nonsense. There's great products out there, but you got to really filter through the
Yeah,
nonsense. So that's what I really mean is and all this other like kind of manipulation where it's just crazy. I don't even want to get into it because I have people that I like that sell this stuff, and it just It just makes me kind of like roll my eyes, but it's just the way it is. People want to make money, dude, and they don't care. People don't have any kind of integrity anymore, really. They
Yeah,
just want to make money, and it's unfortunate. I always prided myself on never selling myself out with supplements because I've seen so much nonsense come in, to drink this and you're gonna be have so much more energy, and all the rock climbers and friggin' wherever they use it, and then the next product in 2 years, and it's just so much nonsense, and you got to really just weed through that. And I feel like when people are taking advantage of others, especially with that, people can't afford the supplements.
yeah.
It's kind of annoying to see that. And I wish people would learn how to think for themselves a little bit better, and research stuff, but they get manipulated into labels and pictures and all this stuff, and it's unfortunate. We live in a really different time now.
So it's like, I tried to. There's a couple products I've tried, and I'm just gonna go ahead and blast one of them. I was sponsored by, not sponsored by, but I was an ambassador for Insane Labs company.
Okay, yes.
Pure trash. I'm not gonna lie. Everything. Only thing I liked was their smelling salt. That was the only thing I but and they had some pretty nice shirts. I like some of their shirts,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
there's a couple I like. But what I'll do, like I experiment, I will try these and I will update everybody on my social media platforms. That hey, I'm trying this right now. I'm gonna let you know if it's trash or not. And because I don't have a dime invested in it. I have no reason to lie. I don't have any money wrapped up in it. So I kind of like doing that. So somebody like, well, if Alan says it's trash, most likely it's trash. He's real. If he says it's decent, yeah, maybe it's. But if he says it's good, maybe it'll be legit. So it's. I've got no reason to lie about anything, and I just want to be seen as that way. Um, we talked. You and I both. We have colorful backgrounds. I don't want to take too much away from some of the podcasts I watch because I really want. I want you to shout out to your podcast too, and everybody go back and watch yours because
Yeah,
I.
man. I love sharing my story everywhere, man. I feel like that's just part of the benefit of your viewers, your group of your community. It's good to share that with others too, because I feel like everybody needs to kind of understand the message of hope. And that's what I try to present to people.
So and let's talk about the arm wrestling community. And that so the arm wrestling community, and like I said, I've got a college football background. I've got a very colorful recreational drug use background, and I never found a place where I felt at home anywhere like I do with the arm wrestling community, where I can meet people and I can go into an event and I'm making some of my best friends now who have the same backgrounds, and we can openly talk about it. You don't have to hide it. And talk about a little bit like what you see, how you think you've learned, and how you think you've contributed to that same community. Talking to people like me, which is how you and I have, how I've reached out to you, and talking to you.
So yeah, like right from day one, man, like I've always been that guy that wasn't afraid to put himself out there, and people would make fun of me and whatever. Like I don't really care about that stuff anymore. It made me have like thicker skin, you know what I mean? Like and really honestly, like this whole journey is all about self-growth and actually learning how to control your mind, your thoughts, your actions, your behaviors, things that you can control, right? Not other things. Like I can't control other people's behaviors, but I can control how I react to it. So this journey for me, man, I wanted to share, my experiences because like at one time, like I said, I was just this washed up junkie living out of my 1998 Ford Ranger, man, and I was just lost, and I got to the deepest, darkest hole that I could possibly get into, like, and I've hit those rock bottoms so many times, but I would clean myself up so quickly,
Yeah,
and I wouldn't respect I would think, oh, I got this, how
got
that
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 rebound effect. You got that whole rebound effect. It's like, oh man, I've turned it around this time. I'll dabble back in it just a little bit, but I'll be fine.
every time, man, every time, and it was just connected to that chaos all the time, and so I just never could stop, man. I tried so much, like I was using meth for years, and then I got off meth and I went on the pills, and then it was everything. And then people, when I got into recovery, people would ask me, what was your drug of choice? And it was like everything, it's just whatever I could get my hands on. And that's what it was. At the end of the day, I just did whatever would take the pain away that I was suffering from. And I didn't have any idea, because I didn't like myself. I didn't know who I was anymore. I didn't really give myself a chance growing up, because I had a rough life growing up, and I never could get over that. And I always played the victim up until probably a few years ago. To be honest with you, I stopped really playing the victim game, because I knew that the common denominator of this whole situation was me. I was the common denominator.
Yeah.
And I talk about relationships, and this girl did that, and what a crazy this person, blah blah blah. But at the end of the day, I was the common denominator. It was me. It was me that was
You're
crazy.
making the choice. You're the one that's making
Exactly.
the choice. And you used the term, you used the term in one of yours, the term drug-a-lug. I'd never heard that before.
Hmm.
And I may be saying it wrong.
No,
And
it's a drug-a-log. So it's a drug-a-log. Like you're
drug-a-log, yeah.
talking, yeah, you're talking about all your drug use, and you're trying to, I don't know if people are glorifying it, but like I was in the bathroom shooting up drugs five,
Yeah.
six, seven, 10 times a day. Like, do I really need to tell you about my rituals in the morning? How I had to snort 5 Roxys to go to work and train people? Like, you know what I mean? Like, and how I was like hanging out on the street, meeting my drug dealer on 95 at 3:30 in the morning, half passed out on the street. I'm lucky I didn't run anybody over and kill them. Like, that doesn't glorify anything. Everybody has the same story. We all know. You want to watch go on YouTube and look up people messed up on Flocka and all these other drugs, and that's how I was at the end of the day. I was just so out of control. So, and I don't want to glorify that
Yeah.
part, because a lot of people in recovery, they'll just go on about all this stuff that they did. And
That's what I was going to talk about. I had to go to I got a DUI, and I had to go to
meetings.
an addictions meeting because I'm an alcoholic. I'm open about that. I'm an alcoholic. So I went to this, really wanted to get something out of it, and this was an absolute. I'm not going to name any association. It was a crock of shit where they if y'all show up for 1 hour, we'll give you credit for 2 hours. Hey, y'all want to watch a movie while we're in here today? Hey, somebody tell some stories, and that's all it is. Hey, let's who can one up each other with our stories. You know what I mean? And I remember
Mhm.
sitting there, I'm like, pardon my French, but what the fuck am I doing here right now? Like, I
Yeah.
listen to people that if I see them on the street, I know I can score something from them. You know what I mean? That's
Yeah, I
all I'm
know.
getting
Yeah.
from them. I bet
It's
we have mutual friends. That's and I was the whole thing. The whole I've told people a million times. Rehab doesn't have to be in a building, sitting in a circle. You know what I mean? Your
nah.
program, this right here, watching these podcasts with some people that's been through the same shit, and doesn't mind just being open and telling you what worked for them to get out of it. And
I
not,
agree.
and not being around addicts in the same room is not necessarily the best thing. And I found that. And
It's
you
horrible.
I just, I get so much more out of talking to you here or listen to people like you and the guys that I've met in this sport that's been through the same crap. Yeah, a million times more than sitting in a room with 20 other ones that we're all just thinking about the same thing, getting out of here and getting a beer when we leave.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I get nothing from that.
No, and and I'll play devil's advocate a little bit too, because like sometimes you do meet good guys. Like I met some good guys in the program, but as later on as I progressed, like I realized that I didn't need to be going to this. It turned into like a cult to me, because I didn't feel like I wanted to be around a bunch of liars and people lying about their sobriety. And it's really where I
Yep.
was going. And I'm just talking about my experiences at a couple clubs that I was members to. People were just not doing the right thing. You know what I mean? And for me, I was looking for a new life. And I knew once the drugs and the drinking and all that kind of was out of my life, and I didn't have the obsession to use anymore, I had to really do the work. The real hard work began, because I had to really figure out, like, what am I, who am I? Like, what did I do? Like, why didn't I do all this stuff? So I had to really figure out who I was, and that's where the real work began. And people, I feel like I don't see that as much, because I would meet people with 30 years of sobriety, and they were still picking up prostitutes
Yeah.
and cheating on their wives
They found
and
another out. They found
doing pills.
Yeah.
cheating the system. You know what I mean? Like, and it just was disappointing to me. And I figured out that I didn't have to go to meetings anymore because I didn't have to like listen to people bitch about their lives that didn't ever want to change. You know what I mean? And everybody has the answers, and you really don't know the answers. The only answer that I can tell you is you have to have the willingness to want to stop using. And then after that, it's 1 minute at a time. Sometimes it's like 1 second at a time. And then once you get through that and you can learn to live your life and deal with your trauma,
Yeah.
then you can start growing and you can start healing. Because people that just quit drinking and they replace one addiction to the next, like I got really fat when I got sober. I was having health problems. I was sleeping with a machine. I had sleep apnea, cholesterol was high. I was on blood pressure medicine. I mean, I was a walking stroke victim. 290, and then I was arm wrestling, thinking that, oh, this is how you get strong, but it wasn't. And I just replaced doing drugs with sugar and bad habits, and I said to myself, "Am I gonna die from Oreos now?" It's like, man, I kicked all these other drugs, and here I am, like, gonna go down with the
Face first in a
yeah, yeah, like
Neapolitan.
diabetes is gonna take me out. I'm like, so, but just going into meetings, and what really helped me was it wasn't even really the meetings; it was just the fellowship with meeting other people that got their life together.
Yeah.
And then I got into going to detox, and I started bringing meetings to detox, and I got a job at the detox, and I started working around addicts, and it really changed my life. Watching other people suffer really changed my life because I couldn't see my suffering because I was too selfish. I just was worried about my own self. I didn't see the suffering, and when I got to see other people suffering, coming into detox with 2 hours sober, it kept it green to me, and I wanted to change my life. And I didn't want to live like this anymore. I didn't want to live with the life of regret, and I wanted to deal with my life, and I wanted to not be a victim anymore. And that's when I really took it upon myself, and I realized that I am my own worst enemy,
Yeah.
and I had to get out of my own way and learn how to live my life on life's terms. And I had to really understand to surrender to the flow of life. I read this book a few years ago. It was called The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer, and it's nothing that I would have anything in common with, but it was talking about how you need to kind of focus on your mind as a movie, and you don't have to react to everything. And someone say does something and it annoys you, instead of reacting in a negative way towards that person, sit back for a few minutes and just like evaluate why you're feeling this way, and
Yeah.
have a conversation with yourself, and create a mindset that you're going to let go of things, and you're not going to let your feelings dictate how you feel. And it's a challenge all the time to
Respond,
do that.
respond instead of reacting mentality.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like, trying to create that every day, it makes me feel like so great when I'm living my life like that, so that I'm in control of myself. And then, of course, eating better and exercising every day, all those things go in hand. So, and really helping people. Like over the years, people have reached out to me, so many people. And some people, are no longer with us, and but others, some people have got clean, and some people still struggle. But that's why I do this, because I want someone to know that they're not alone. So I don't wish when I see addicts now, when I see people suffering that are homeless on the street, man, it really affects me in a like a negative way. I feel bad. I really do. I can feel that whole vibration of like all that pain when I even walk by someone. It's
Yeah.
just so crazy because I know what that's like, man. I know what it's like to give up on life, and that's a low part of your life.
I've had my own battles with certain drugs, but the biggest one for me, the biggest example that I think had done the most for me was I had a sibling, my brother. What I saw him become a completely different person until he eventually lost his battle to addiction. I used that to kind of be like you said to make me really look at me and what am I going to do? I don't want to become that, which I wasn't near that, but I knew where the road I didn't want to. I was just a couple decisions from being down that same road many times, and
Mhm.
think about the what ifs, the roads not taken that I could have easily been in that same boat, and that was really the turning point for me, where it's like you're your biggest enemy from being a better man, a better person, better father, better husband. You need to get your shit together. And you know, um, I'm proud to look. I'm not gonna say I'm the man I want to be yet. I'm getting there, but I'm not disgusted when I look in the mirror these mornings. And that's going in the right direction.
And that's a big deal, man, because when you're at that low point in life and you're able to look at who you are, and I'm always wanting to improve who I am, and I want to work harder at being a better person, being a better father, being a good example. But my motivation in life is my family. When people ask what your purpose is, it's my family, man. It's to make my kids assets when I'm
Yeah,
no longer here. It's I think people have it twisted. They look at, oh, I'm going to leave my kids all kinds of money and blah blah blah. But I believe it's what you instill, what you leave in your kids.
and what are they
That's
going
what.
to contribute? What have you put in them that they're going to contribute to the world as
Yes,
the better?
yes, and it's really important, man, and it's really important so that they see that I get up and go to work every day. They see that I'm eating a certain way. They see their dad training. They see him coming home losing and not making excuses and
Yeah,
talking about getting back to training, so that when my kids can face adversity. My daughter just lost her first jujitsu match, and I was like, "Hey, man, it's all part of the grind." Now you know what to work on, and you got to take it and learn from that. So I feel like that's just being a better example to everybody else out there, and that you can try to show people that you can be kind, positive, and
mhm,
still be strong, and still be a man that that you admire. Like, you try to create a man that you'd admire, you know what I mean,
yeah,
each day. And when you create that person, then you can give him away and you can give it to your family. And that's with everything in life, you know what I mean? Like, you want to, when you're interacting with others, like, you just want to be able to be kind and kind of add some good vibrations to them, so that they're not going, oh, there's Craig again, he's going to bitch about his wife, or his kids are fucking yelling, or you know what I'm saying. Like, it's just like, that's not a fun life. And
I
when I
t-
hear people saying, when I ask them how their day's going and I'm hanging on, it's like,
yeah,
what are
I
you hanging on to? Because I just watched a video of some 6-year-old kid feeding herself with her feet because she doesn't have any arms, and she's laughing and smiling. So your day can't be that bad, brother. You know what I mean? Like,
what really put in retrospect for me is I got the thing like, am I the type of man? I have $3. Am I the type of man I would want my daughters to marry? Wow.
yeah.
You know what I mean? That's kind of it's like that's where it's a gut check moment right then. And it's like,
And
no,
how you treat their mother.
yeah,
So
exactly.
important.
The
So
example
important.
what to expect, what you want them to expect from
Yes,
their
because that's an investment right there, because you don't want her to be with some asshole that abuses her and that puts you in a situation where you're going to have to take care of something and
yeah.
not maybe be in your kid's life again, because I know how that works. But the thing is, it's like, you have to set that example. So if you think you're going to fly off, your tongue's going to fly off to your wife about stuff, you got to catch that. And you
The
got to, that's,
respond not react thing. We just talked about that. Think
yeah.
before you speak, and she and I both have been. We talked about that many times, and I see her. I see her working on it regularly because
Mhm.
we've known each other since I was 4 years old, and
That's incredible.
needless to say, we know the buttons to push. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, no. But you also know how to stay together and have a good relationship and
Yeah,
have a good family. So that's important to teach kids, man, because it's such a crazy world we live in. People are so stuck on phones, and my kids don't even have phones. Like, they don't have any devices. They're growing up like they were born in the 90s, and
yeah.
it's so much better for them, their mental health. I mean, my wife's a behavior analyst and a high school teacher, and she sees all the problems that phones stem from, or technology. And it's just, people are losing that hard work ethic. Like, I tell my kids now all the time, I mean, my son, they're both disciplined. They're in jujitsu 5-6 days a week, 6 training sessions, working out 4 days a week with me. And I tell them, I go, you just have to keep grinding like this because you're going to destroy everybody because there's not too many people out there that are doing this. And the people that are going to be at a high level, they're doing this, of course.
Yeah.
But all these other people that might just decide to do a tournament, just, throw their kid in or whatever, that don't go and train hard. Like, you can see it like on a Saturday, like that should be the day that all the kids should be at jujitsu training, right? But
Yeah.
it's the less, there's only 7 to 10 kids there. Meanwhile, during the week, there's 20. So there's a level of like, I can't get up early, I was training this kid a couple months ago and he was like, yeah, I don't like wrestling practice at 7. I'm like, you're in the wrong sport, dude. Just in the wrong sport.
Yeah.
Because that's what you're doing. You want to be, or you're going to meet that kid on the mat that does it, and you're not going to want to be there.
Yeah.
I tell my kid that all the time. I'm like, I show him little kids that are like 7, 8-year-old world champion wrestlers and jujitsu practitioners, and I'm like, this kid is grinding, homeschooled, training twice a day, getting therapy done. It's just crazy the level of
Kudos
people.
to him, too.
Yeah, you have to, because everybody says, nothing I hate worse is when you tell your kid, oh, you can be whatever you want, but you forget to tell them that you need to put in all the work every single day. You
Do
know what I
whatever,
mean?
be whatever you want to work for.
Yes, you
Yeah.
have to put the work in. So those Friday nights when your friends are out, going to birthday parties and you got to train and watch your diet, that's what you got to do. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because you're going to meet some Russian kid that's living in the friggin' hills somewhere, and that's all he does is train. He gets up at 5 in the morning, he trains, and after school he's training, and then he goes home and trains, and he's in bed at 9 o'clock, and that's what they do forever.
And
And
that's all he
then you
knows.
see, and
That's
then
all
you
he
see
knows.
the guy Khabib or all these Russian wrestlers that come out of the woodwork, and you're going to meet that guy one day, and they're going to just walk all over you because you're not going to be prepared. And it's like that with arm wrestling sometimes too, sometimes you're going to have these matches where if you don't put in the work, it's not going to be close, so you have to use that mindset on everything you do, man. When you're working hard at stuff, you got to really focus on, putting the work in. So there's no questions, you know what I
Everybody,
mean? Because then you can leave and go, well, that guy was better than me. I did whatever I could, and this time, and he was just a better man.
yeah.
And I'd rather leave an event like that than go, man, I should have trained that weekend here, and then I was out there eating pizza and doing this shit, and I
Yeah.
shouldn't have did that. You know what I mean? Like you don't want to be questioning yourself. So
Oh, I missed weight for a ranking challenge, a ranking match back in March, and it was the most ashamed I've ever been. You know what I mean? Because it's like you knew about your match for 2 months. There's
yeah,
no reason not to miss weight, and I missed it by 2 pounds. And I'm like, you dipshit. I was like, this is embarrassing. I was like embarrassed. I was like, never again. It won't ever happen again. Never, because there was no excuse. And
yeah.
it's not like you got thrown on me last minute or some shit. Yeah, it was.
No, but you'll learn, and now you're more motivated. You'll take it more professionally, and sometimes it's hard too because you're not making big money, and it's like even though you give your word, which should be your bond anyway.
Yeah.
But thing is it's hard sometimes. I self sabotage sometimes when I have to cut weight. I'll be like, oh, I'll do, eat off the bin, whatever, for a couple days, and I'll go, oh, I'll get on track here, and then like I almost pressure myself into. So now I'm like on weight, and I'm
Yeah.
like, now I don't have to diet. So I'm like, you know what I mean? Like I'm gonna wake up and be on weight and train and on this weight, and so I feel like that's a little bit smarter to do,
Yeah.
especially as you get older, so that you don't have to drop. Because I don't care what anyone says, when you're cutting 15, 16 pounds in a couple days, your strength is the minute you've made yourself vulnerable for sure.
Yeah.
So I feel like if you're a little more disciplined and you stay on weight, then it's a lot easier. So, especially for arm wrestling, because it's all about being strong and having some endurance.
Yeah. Well, Craig, wrap things up. I want to give a shout out to everyone out there that chimed in. I really do appreciate y'all. This was a phenomenal show. I really feel like Craig and I could probably keep going for another 65 minutes.
Yeah.
It just tells me we need to have him back on here. maybe after you get through all these Florida events and do
Yeah,
this
for sure. I love to.
recap on everything. Craig, you want to tell everybody about your podcast, how they can subscribe to your page and everything before we hop off?
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. And thank you for having me on, man. I really love the vibe and I love what you're doing with the sport. And it's great, man. Your community, it's awesome. And so, yeah, man, you can just find me at Craig Soubliere on YouTube. Really appreciate if you like the content. I try to motivate, put some training out there, try to share my story a little bit to give people hope. I'm going to be doing a lot more with arm wrestling in general. I kind of got the fire lit again. So yeah, I'm going to be putting more content out there, arm wrestling training, little maybe some more tournaments, maybe get the camera while I'm competing and stuff. So I can bring some footage for you guys. I really appreciate all the support. You guys have been really great. And I just wanted to thank some guys in the chat, Scott and Ivan and James, Brett, all those guys, man. Jake, really appreciate you guys tuning in tonight and supporting arm wrestling. And yeah, man, it's just great. Everybody in this community pushing the sport with all these podcasts. I feel like everybody should have their own podcast, own YouTube channel. That's how we get some sponsorships.
Yeah.
We're not competing against each other. We're competing with each other, guys. So just remember that all the promoters out there, we're all together here. We all love arm wrestling. We're all here to make it better. So I hope that we can all get along and be respectful to each other, even though we're competing against each other. It's a great sport. I love the game. And it's, been a big part of my life for the last 12 years. So very grateful for that. So really appreciate you having me on. It was
Yes.
a great show. And I
Appreciate
really like talking to you, brother.
All right, Craig, thank you so much. I can't wait to continue to follow you through the next several months competing, bud. Thank you again.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.